isolated region, most of them have stayed local. 30 of those sentinels are held by the Darfur government, led by al-Jabali. It's a strong showing for a government competing in its first election, but al-Jabali doesn't seem satisfied. The government's policy papers and rhetoric are rigorously, even stridently pacifist, but there have been troubling occurrences of nationalist talk and hints at expansionism. The most disturbing incident occurred a few weeks ago, when 19 Darfuri citizens staged a rally in a Centenal belonging to 888, a corporate government that originated in China. Al-Jabali has been courting the international stage, promoting the expansion of the Darfur state to anyone who will listen. He hasn't gotten much play globally, but his rivals here are paying attention. This is not a particularly sexy assignment. No knife-wielding fanatics ranting about people they hate just across the Sentinel line. No dicey border redrawings. But Roz can feel a jitter of excitement in the team anyway. For the past year and a half, SFAT agents, the elite of information's global bureaucracy, have been cleaning up the mess left by the last election. Confusion, sabotage, recounts, and fraud sparked low-level conflicts in more than 100 Sentinels worldwide. The first urgent missions put SVAT agents and security officers up close and in the faces of swindled voters to explain what happened and why they shouldn't take out their frustration on their rivals, the ones they thought they had vanquished politically. Progress was slow and irregular, but the work was never boring, and less than 2 years later, the handful of remaining battles have settled into a tense equilibrium. It isn't over, but this is their first job not directly related to the election fraud since it happened. Finally, they're back to classic SVAT work, a populace that, after a long history of propaganda exposure and conflict, is high risk for nationalism and other pathologies, and a charismatic new government that doesn't yet understand the extent to which information will call them on their exaggerations. Amran is going through the locations of various episodes on the map, sometimes showing vid or zooming in for a quick auto tour. Al-Jabali has said he will address these problems, and there is no hint yet of open conflict, but given the history of this region, your team was requested as a precautionary measure. Roz notes the passive voice and wonders whether Amran opposed their deployment. She hasn't been here very long herself. She might have wanted a chance to work on things before the specialized voter action tactics experts swooped in to save the day. It's tough when people who have been the losers for so long finally get their chance, only to find the rules have changed, Maria comments. Roz is mildly surprised to hear that kind of empathy-based extrapolation from a pollster. Maria is the only member of the 4-person team Roz hasn't worked with before, and Roz hasn't had time yet to form an opinion. 10 years must seem like a long time to wait for their next chance to expand, Charles agrees. Round-headed and 40-something, he's the oldest team member and the one Roz has worked with the most. Solid, skilled at building rapport with local elites, and not in the least starry-eyed about information. She wonders if he's making his feelings known about the latest controversy in the upper reaches of the bureaucracy. The director level at Information is concerned enough about cynicism and disengagement, and the competence of the new policy-first supermajority, that they're considering speeding up the election cycle, holding them every 5 years instead of every 10. For now, those discussions are both secret and hypothetical. Amran's presentation is over, and they should get moving. For today, Roz begins, let's focus on building the relationships with Al-Jabali, learning how he sees things, reinforce election protocol in the background but subtly, and listen for issues where we can work with Al-Jabali to make them, happy. She looks at Amran. Is it time for our meeting? Amran blinks, probably glancing at the time in her personal eyeball-level projection. Yes, we should head over there. She is twisting her hands in the front of her long skirt. Actually, Al-Jabali may be a few minutes late. It seems he's traveling from another Darfur Sentinel. Unusual to make an information team wait. Roz steels herself for an uncomfortable mission. The visit was planned before I gave him the SVAT team's schedule, Amran adds, but Roz is still skeptical. Can you confirm his ETA? Charles asks. They are sitting in a square brick room, one of 2 freestanding offices inside the compound. There is a wide-bladed fan shuffling air through the vent opening.